Vampire in the Garden is a 2022 anime series that seems to be about love?
Please sit. Hurry and eat before it gets cold.
I'm not falling for that vampire. You just want to fatten me up and eat me.
Delicious.
And if it is, it could really do with more of it. Today, let's look at how you fall in love. There are major spoilers coming up. Don't say I didn't warn you. Let me tell you a story. It's quite beautiful. We begin in a divided world. Humans hunker down in military bases and vampires spin around in ballrooms. They're at war. Humans can't play music because vampires have very sensitive hearing. On one side is Momo, a soldier who was hesitant to be brutal. She is the daughter of a human general, and she unwittingly resembles the dead human love of the vampire queen. On the other side is Fine, said vampire queen who won't drink blood and absconds from her duties. She steals away Momo to save them both from a dangerous battle. They bond. The queen shows Momo music, and when both vampires and humans come to take them away, they run away together, seeking a fairy tale land where both humans and vampires live in harmony. Along the way, they save each other's lives many times. It's not all roses though. Momo has to pretend to be Fine's personal blood slave. Fine loses her mind in hunger and nearly kills Momo. They have to keep moving because the humans are tracking them, and a vampire named Allegro keeps turning up wherever they go. They seem to finally reach their Eden when they find an icy settlement where vampires and humans are living in harmony. Humans donate blood, and together everyone sings and dances. Fine knows it's too good to be true, but Momo doesn't listen. It turns out that the settlers are using vampires as a source of fuel.
Just be careful, both of you! Get out while you can!
A few moments later.
And it seemed like that vampire in there was being held against his will.
You're overthinking things if you ask me.
They run again, but this time Momo's uncle catches up to them. Fine, shot by humans and nearly dead, injects herself with a drug that turns vampires into monsters so that she can defend Momo. She battles Momo's uncle, bites Momo, regains her reason, and flees with Momo once again. As she dies, Momo lays her among flowers, refuses to go back with her mother, and sings. So yeah, only a little bit of garden. In fact, the colour palette is mostly greys and browns. There is quite a bit of vampire though. On paper, that story doesn't sound half bad, does it? But notice where I slowed down and where I drew your focus. Yeah, the series doesn't do that at all. And we will get on to how time works in this anime. Leave a comment if anything in my summary was wrong. Part 1. Schrodinger's lesbian. Let's really zoom in on the relationship between Momo and Fine, our two leads, the very heart of this anime, who are a terrible model for true love. Incidentally, every time I hear Momo, I kept thinking of that flying lemur thing from Avatar: The Last Airbender, although I looked it up and her name might just mean dumplings. In my opinion, Vampire in the Garden has a very on-the-nose metaphor for lesbian relationships. Vampires and humans can't really be together, the same way same-sex couples might face discrimination. We also know that Momo and Fine love each other.
I'll stay and fight with you! We'll die together if we have to!
I promise, Momo. When we get out of here, you and I will make an Eden of our own.
They talk about a future together in their Eden, and they constantly defy family members and friends who try to separate them. So, two women who love each other seek to be together despite societal judgment. The whole vampires and humans can't be together thing in this series might as well be a homophobic attitude. It's like how the X-Men can be interpreted as a metaphor for coming out as LGBTQ+.
So, when did you first know you were
a mutant?
But what's kind of weird is they never really confirm that. Is it technically gay baiting if your two obviously gay characters don't kiss or say yes homo? Probably not. It's kind of strange that the anime is very happy to confirm one romance. Momo's uncle was definitely married to a vampire lady in the past, but not the central relationship. The series is written in such a way that you can easily watch the whole thing and never shake in your unwavering belief that Fine and Momo are just really good friends. Anime has actually been depicting queer relationships for a very long time. Yuri, an anime and manga genre also known as girls' love, has its roots in the 1900s when novelist Nobuko Yoshida wrote a lot about young women in highly emotional relationships. These relationships usually ended with graduation, marriage, or death. So note the consistency with which Vampire in the Garden follows in this tradition. But I don't think most people would describe Vampire in the Garden as Yuri or girls' love, since the relationship between Momo and Fine can so easily be read as friendship. In Japan, LGBT couples currently don't have the same rights as heterosexual ones. Same-sex couples can't adopt. Lesbians and single women can't access IVF. Tokyo only began recognizing same-sex partnerships this June. Forget about same-sex marriage. But in that fact is the implication that things are changing slowly and acceptance in law is growing. And so maybe now is the time for more mainstream anime about gay relationships. I don't know the situation at which studio when this was being made exactly. Maybe censorship was involved, or maybe an openly gay relationship just wasn't good for funding. Maybe the artists involved wanted to somehow tell a story about a pure, an unsexual love. Although that's a bit suspect because in Witch Studios' recent film Bubble, the two heterosexual leads get to share at least 2 kisses. Check out my previous video if you want to see more. But I'm digressing. The fact is, I'm convinced that Momo and Fine love each other. In a gay way.
I will live. I'll live with Fine!
And it doesn't look great when one of them dies. There's a trope called dead lesbian syndrome, or bury your gays. Basically, in films and TV, queer characters tend to die a lot more than straight people. Sometimes it's because they're bad, evil gays who need to be punished. Sometimes it prevents gay relationships from fully forming and having to deal with writing continuing gay romance. But in the case of Vampire in the Garden, it's more like the lesbian is too pure for this earth and must transcend to a heavenly Eden. I'm not suggesting that gay characters should never die, but the whole one lesbian dies and the other grieves has been done so many times, it's a rather irritating cliche. If you include Arya, Fine's human love, that's actually 2 dead lesbians in Vampire in the Garden. But hey, there are more problems in Momo and Fine's relationship than dead lesbian syndrome. Like all Romeo and Juliet tales, we need to question if that relationship is healthy. Let me start by saying that I really don't think that Fine is a deliberately manipulative character, at least not in the way that she's framed. But she also doesn't do a whole lot to address the power imbalance between her and Momo. We have our typical vampires and age question that comes up all the time when vampire-related media such as Twilight gains popularity. Can a human vampire romance be ethical when a vampire often has centuries of age and experience over their human lover? Fine has every advantage over Momo. She's older, stronger, and a literal queen. Meanwhile, Momo is depicted as a naive, not fully developed teenager in the middle of her rebellious stage. She's desperate to escape an overbearing parent and a bad job, in this case her role in the military. Fine often looks after Momo like a mother cares for a child, but she goes a little too far in her apparent protection of Momo, isolating her from human family members who realistically don't want to harm her, making her a target for vampires who want their queen back, and perhaps worst of all, not communicating the potential dangers of traveling with a bloodthirsty vampire. That's creepy and kind of controlling already, but consider this. Momo strongly resembles Fine's dead ex. Could she be grooming a teen to replace someone she lost?
At first, you were a substitute. You had her face and her voice.
And on top of that, this whole thing kicks off with Fine kidnapping Momo. You might say that Momo agrees to go with her, but I'm very iffy on how consensual anything is when the alternative is a violent death by monster. So, Stockholm Syndrome? In fairness, Momo isn't a hostage for very long before willingly joining Fine in their pursuit of Eden. But considering she's just a young teen, we cycle back to grooming, so how much love do we actually feel in their dynamic? We know that they love each other. They act like they do, but is this a healthy, sustainable love or a flash-in-the-pan partnership? Is Fine seeing Momo, the young adult she barely knows, or an aftershadow of her lost Aria? Is Momo seeking happiness with Fine, or an escape from a mother who doesn't understand her and forced employment in the military? Sure, maybe the anime's lack of confirmation that this is a lesbian romance is why Momo and Fine don't feel like they are falling in love. Or maybe it's because this just isn't a relationship that works out in any world. When Momo grows up a bit and is more secure in herself, would she still want a partner who thinks she knows best? When Fine starts to notice the differences between Momo and Aria, would she finally grieve properly? We don't know, and we'll never know. Because the show needed to bury its gaze, to send its main characters both to Eden by separating them. At the end, after the credits roll, we know Momo hasn't forgotten about Fine because she still wears her cloak. But Momo is also holding a baby, perhaps a subtle hint at a return to heteronormativity, that she had a child with a human man. Part 2. Time and Love. We've established that Momo and Fine's relationship brings up tired old dead lesbian tropes and uncomfortable questions of grooming. But to give the anime some credit, the pair meet each other during the adrenaline of war, a far from perfect situation. Maybe we can find something redeemable in the time they spend falling in love. So let's look at how Vampire in the Garden uses time. Music keeps coming up when you search for summaries of Vampire in the Garden online. Music keeps coming up in Vampire in the Garden, after all. Music is indulgent, entertaining, a luxury only the vampires can afford, and something humans like Momo can only yearn for. Music usually has a rhythm. You can dance because you can feel the swells, the cresting waves, the drops, the coming back to sea level. Good music knows how to tell a story you might not even realize you're hearing. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Music is all about timing, pacing, and Vampire in the Garden has none of that. If you verbally summarize the plot of Vampire in the Garden like I did not long ago, you probably wouldn't even realize anything was wrong. There's not really anything wrong with this story structure, per se. It's just that everything happens way too fast. I'm not sure why Wit Studio decided to make this series only 5 episodes long. It clearly needed more than that. Maybe they wanted to use up some money they had left over after making Bubble. I will set the scene. The world of Vampire in the Garden is introduced with narration, which is not a perfect way to dump your exposition on viewers, but it's worked in other media. So here's all your information on this world. Humans and vampires are at war, blah blah. Now have an action scene to introduce your main character, Momo. It's probably the best episode in the series, and it spends its time entirely just introducing things. Characters, the world, conflict. Okay, so it's fine. Promising, even. Then our 2 main characters meet, and it's all downhill from there. Check out this moment where the 2 main characters drive off together. I didn't speed that up. If it looks too fast, like the car isn't beholden to friction or gravity, that's because its speed is symptomatic of the whole show. It's always rushing. You have no sense of how long the characters have been together or how far they've travelled because they try to fit the plot of a standard 12-episode anime into only 5 episodes. Look, this is a Romeo and Juliet style anime where the goal of the main characters is to be together despite an entire world bent on tearing them apart. Vampire in the Garden needs its viewers to desire the same outcome. But do we? When we watch Momo and Fine, are we invested in their relationship? Well, I wasn't. Not really. And honestly, I'll ship anything, so they must have been doing something wrong. Simply put, I don't think the pair know each other that well. When they meet, Momo hates and fears Fine.
I have nothing to say to a vampire!
Fine kidnaps her, Fine's the queen of the vampires who slaughtered her friend, and Fine is ridiculously pushy.
What's your name? Who are you? Don't touch me! Let go! Tell me how you know that song!
However, in the very same episode these things are established, Momo leaves behind everything she has ever known to follow Fine, truly and fully committed to her. What happened to make that change? Well, Fine freely plays her music, which Momo has always been fascinated with. Fine does a bit of gardening, and that's it. Momo isn't aware that Fine has a history of loving a human who looked like Momo. I don't think she even knows that Fine isn't drinking blood. Beginning to love someone is about the liminal moments, about taking your time and spending your time by choice with someone. But the series rushes their bonding, the formation of the ride or die relationship at the heart of Vampire in the Garden, and then it rushes everything else. Their travels are a montage, tensions between vampires and humans in the wider world are largely skipped over. There's no time to see their bond deepening, no time to see the places they go. And little details like how they're navigating, where they're acquiring food and water, we definitely don't have time for those. How long have they been together? How far have they journeyed? We have no idea. Worse than not showing Momo and Fine getting to know each other, we barely get to know them. By the end, they're strangers to each other and to us. Sure, we know that Momo has a bad relationship with her mother, and Fine once loved a human, but a brush of backstory does not a good character make. If this anime had much greater tension and a time crunch, it still could have worked, although it would have been a less character-driven anime. Have them bond because they faced real danger together. Have Fine's lack of blood drinking give them a time limit to find an alternative. There were ways to put them under pressure and make them diamonds. This story could have even worked in a film. If we'd spent less time being introduced to vampire inns and evil Arctic villages and more time on the very simple idea of two people wanting to be together despite being on opposite sides of a war, I think we could have had a real winner. In fairness, Momo's clothing tells a much better emotional journey than her actual interactions. She begins in generic military clothes that look a bit too big for her. Then she wears a nightgown with a military cloak over it when she's still scared of Fine. As she begins to relax, she dons a beautiful gown, highly implied to have belonged to Arya, Fine's lost love. She wears more practical modern winter clothes while on her road trip, wears an oversized red nightgown the first time Fine attacks her out of thirst. It's practical winter clothes again, albeit with no protective outer layer when she takes initiative to seek blood for Fine. A ragged collection of mismatched layers as she collapses, dragging Fine to safety. As she integrates into the Arctic settlement, she adopts the same heavy parka they wear, with Fine's signature red and black at the sleeve. She sheds this layer when she's betrayed, and from then on wears Fine's vampiric cloak, even years later when she seems to have her own children. The character development, the relationships, Momo's sense of safety, fear, belonging and maturity are reflected in her costume far better than in her dialogue or actions. It's a bit strange, now that I think about it, that a series where music is so important has such a visual character arc rather than telling this story through an evolving soundtrack. Vampire in the Garden has beautiful ideas, but it doesn't take the time to explore them. Sure, there's not a lot of filler, but we don't spend time with the world, the characters or their relationships. It has the foundations of a truly moving story, but flashes by in a blink, leaving a barely memorable impression. You can't really fall in love with Vampire in the Garden because it doesn't give its main characters time to fall in love. Conclusion. So Vampire in the Garden is about love, but it doesn't get enough of it. It's a challenge to root for Momo and Fine's relationship because such little time is given to their bonding. Wit Studio gave a lot of love to the visuals of Attack on Titan and Bubble, but reserved little for this project. You might say that love doesn't matter in media, it's a story, and entertained for a few hours. You got the point. But did we feel immersed? Did we manage to live a day in the shoes of Momo and Fine, scouring the earth for an Eden where we can live in harmony? If Vampire in the Garden was beautiful to you, if it did make you feel, let me know what I missed in the comments. And remember to like and subscribe. Last time I reviewed a film by Wit Studio, the same studio that did Vampire in the Garden, so check that out if you haven't already. On IMDb, Vampire in the Garden got 6.7, and on my anime list it got 7.17. All things considered, not bad at all. But on the Viking mood scale, I give this series, drumroll please, an Angry Viking.